Love Sam Antonacci's heroic walk-off single, but it should not have gotten to that point where the White Sox needed it in the first place.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Todd Welter. Welcome to Locked On White Sox, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. On today's show, get to your mailbag questions and comments. That comes after discussing the White Sox deciding to demote Edgar Quero and not Drew Romo to make room on the 26-man roster for the returning Kyle Teal. But first, let's talk about Sam Antonacci's walk-off single representing the fight that this club has, but it should not have gotten to that point where Chicago needed a walk-off hit. And hey, winning is winning. So you take the 6-5 victory that puts the White Sox back into a first-place tie with the Guardians, you take it and you run with it. And I love how Sam Antonacci was the hero not only once, but twice. Although I would have preferred he didn't even need to be the hero the second time, or at all, because Anthony K pitched a gem. He should have been rewarded with a shutout start. Instead, his 6 innings of brilliance and 8 strikeouts gets wiped out thanks to Grant Taylor. Antonacci's first go-ahead single, where the narrative probably should have been like, thank you, Rhys Hoskins, for being afraid of Sam's broken bat flying at him. Although I have no problem with Hoskins being more afraid of a flying object coming at him rather than feeling a ball. But still, Hoskins being terrified of that allows the go-ahead run to score. And it was the go-ahead run to score because Taylor absolutely melts down. But that should have been the story. Sam Antonacci, broken bat single, scores Braden Montgomery. And I should be talking about Braden Montgomery coming up with a clutch hit to start that little mini rally to come ahead after Taylor's rough 7th inning. And you do get some luck on Antonacci's broken bat single. But instead, you got Seranthony Dominguez blowing another save. 2 days in a row. 2! He is not a closer. He's just not. Why are we still doing this? This is insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. A win should not feel tainted, but it's hard for me to shake that feeling. Although tainted, too strong a word. Maybe heavily soiled, when it would be nice to maybe just have a win that is only slightly stained. You know, something that maybe you could wash out with the figurative Tide pen. Something that gets washed out, with some timely hits before you need the bottom of the 9th, which the White Sox needed from Sam Antonacci. Now, I can sort of give Taylor a bit of grace, as he wasn't used for an entire week, so you get a little bit of rust. However, that rust probably should have been shaken off on Sunday, and he was just not effective. And he may have to work on his pitch mix to overcome. I mean, the book is now out on him. Get ahead of him in the count, meaning he's got to throw. If he throws you 2 balls, sit on the heater, and if he can't rise it, get your bat on it. That's the book right now. If he gets down 2-0, which has happened now for 2 straight games, you're getting a fastball. Or if you get down 3-0, you're getting a fastball. And if you can't rise it, even though it's coming in at 100, if you can just get your bat head on it, you're going to poke it through for a single. And that's why I think he does have to look at his pitch mix. Because I like what former host of this show, now at the CHGO podcast, Sean Anderson, he tweeted this out, that the data supports that maybe he needs to go with his cutter that he barely throws instead of his spin. Maybe he should be more fastball first, whether it's the four-seamer or the cutter. And then you mix in the spin. But this organization has to think long and hard about its position of getting him to 100 innings to have him potentially ready to move to the starting rotation next season, because Domínguez is he's not the closer. He's not a closer. The CHSN broadcast in the postgame show broke down his numbers in save situations versus non heading into last night's game. And you got two totally different pitchers. Non-save situations, his ERA was .077. Under a run compared to a 6.06 ERA. And I got the quote for those watching on YouTube about how he reacted to blowing the save from MLB.com's White Sox beat reporter Scott Merkin. And that's a guy not in the right headspace. And a lot of closing is mental. You got to walk in with that swagger. Because again, you've got minimal margin for error. At home, yeah, you got the bottom of the ninth, but that's all you got. And even then, it's 3 outs. You got to go in knowing that your stuff don't stink. Your stuff is going to get 3 outs and 3 outs quickly. He just doesn't have it. But enough with the bad, because, winning is gosh darn winning. And what Sam Antonacci and the bottom of the order did to pick up Miguel Vargas, Colson Montgomery, and the returning Kyle Teal, who went a combined 1 for 12 with 9 strikeouts, is outstanding. And I point that out not to continue this griping, because there are going to be games where your primetime players don't produce. Colson does go on these little mini slumps. But when that happens, you need others to step up, and step up they did. You had Antonacci, Chase Mydroth, Braden Montgomery, Tristan Peters, combined for 6 hits, 5 runs, and 4 RBI. Add in Randall Grichuk, continuing to crush lefties with that pitch hit home run. And that's what you got to love about this win, as this team just keeps finding a way to win at home. And if they could do that on the road, I think the Sox would be running away with things by now. But I love the don't quit. Will's boys don't quit. And I love that they find ways to limit the losing streaks. I love that Sam Antonacci, a rookie, did not shy away from a big moment. I love that Braden Montgomery, a rookie, started that 9th inning rally, drawing a walk off of one of the best closers in baseball. And Tristan Peters kind of aiming that double in. And then just breaking for home on Antonacci's single. Now, it would be nice that if it wasn't so uncomfortable, but the way that they keep just not quitting is going to be huge. And I love, again, how they've limited their losing streaks to no more than 3 games. That's a joyous occasion. Remember, we once survived a 22-game losing streak. And it would not stun me to see the White Sox win this series with how the lineup produces at home. However, they've got to figure out their late inning bullpen situation fast to make sure, things don't get uncomfortable like it was last night. Well, Teal is back, and that meant either Edgar Quero or Drew Romo had to get demoted, and the Sox went with Quero, which means you got to begrudgingly accept the decision. Let's discuss next. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. And that's why Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is that classic cotton candy taste you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and 0 sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. The flavor really does bring back that throwback vanilla, fruity flavor vibe, and it's surprisingly smooth. I like how convenient it is, too. It's just a small portable shot I can grab whenever I need that little pick-me-up. That's the best part of 5-Hour Energy. those small little tubes that gives you the energy boost you need to overcome that late afternoon energy drain. No need to brew that, third or fourth pot of coffee. No need to chug down a large soda. Just crack open those portable 5-hour energy shots to get yourself going. Bring on the sweetness with Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online now at 5hourenergy.com. That's 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. And ED is way more common than most guys think, and millions of men deal with it at some point. HIMS offers a simple, convenient way to take care of your health by connecting you with licensed healthcare providers online, giving you access to personalized treatment options from the comfort of home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process designed to make getting care easier. And taking care of yourself shouldn't feel complicated, and HIMS makes the process private and easy to navigate. It's healthcare built around your schedule and your comfort. And when something is already uncomfortable to talk about, the last thing you want is a complicated process. Having the ability to start online from home makes taking the first step feel much more manageable. HIMS makes it easier with a straightforward online process and discreet delivery, so getting care feels more comfortable. And that's what makes HIMS stand out. Something so intimate and private should have an easy process, make you feel comfortable throughout, and then ensures no one should know about your business. And HIMS does that and then some. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/LockedOnMLB. That's hims.com/LockedOnMLB for your free online visit. hims.com/LockedOnMLB. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. Welcome back to Locked On White Sox, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And Locked On White Sox is teaming up with the White Sox for Charities Day today. This year's annual Charities T-shirt competition is among the podcasters, and I've got a limited edition shirt in the mix. For $25, you can rep the White Sox Everydayer design while supporting Chicago White Sox charities and its mission to make Chicago a better place to live, work, and play beyond the diamond. It's also a little friendly competition with our friends at From the 108 and Sox on 35th, and I'm hoping you, the Everydayer, shows up today at Wright Field. You're going to head to the Charities Quarter outside section 154 and purchase the shirt with a $25 donation. You can also donate online if you signed up for a reminder. You'll get the email notification on how you can donate online and receive the Everydayer shirt. You can also donate during tonight's telethon on the Chicago Sports Network. And I would love to see the Everydayer shirt all over Wright Field, Chicago, the country, and the world, because you guys rock and should be recognized for loving the White Sox. And if we get more donations than From the 108 guys and Sox on 35th, I'm going to have the White Sox donate $5,000 to Gilda's House to support those battling cancer and their families. I'm going to do it in honor of my sister Mary, who I lost to cancer 9 years ago. And baseball was something that bonded us actually together. She was 11 years older than me, but we grew up White Sox fans. She actually took me to some White Sox games, so I think that would be the best way to honor her. I know the 108 guys and Sox on 35th have some worthy causes too that they could donate to. So either way, just donate again tonight. I cannot make it down, but Nick, former host of the show, Nick Borowski, he's going to be representing Locked On, so you can see Nick, see the best mustache in Chicago, so give him a shout out there. And welcome back to Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. This is now my third season podcasting here. I've been covering the team well before that, and I've also covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And I can't stand Drew Romo being on this roster. Barely makes contact. The eye test shows a guy who is terrible defensively, despite metrics showing a few good numbers. Maybe I should rephrase it as he's just bad at blocking balls in the dirt when you absolutely need him. However, if he has to play once a week or twice a week, while Edgar Quero goes down to AAA to rediscover his swing, fine. I'll accept it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. It's not being biased here. I can't stand watching Romo be an automatic out and be incapable of blocking balls in the dirt in late innings. But I get the reason why the White Sox sent Quero down, and here's what manager Will Venable said.
Edgar is someone who's been working extremely hard to make some adjustments and really unlock the best version of himself. And as he's continued to try and do that and just hasn't been really finding the results, this environment is a really hard place to be able to do that. And so we just want to give him the opportunity to go down to AAA, continue to make these adjustments and be the best version of himself. And really excited for him to have that opportunity to do that, go and get better. And for us, as we think about the best version of this club, and you think about the catching core and what we saw last year with Teal and Quero working together out there, we feel really strongly that that's a thing that really benefits us, and we're excited about. And for us to get there, we think Edgar needs to go and work on some stuff.
What do you think happened to him coming out of spring training? I mean, that's a very broad question, but what was missing? Because he hit for the whole time he was up here last year for the most part.
Yeah, off seasons are different. You have your first real full season there where he was in the big leagues for a lot of time, and whatever he was working on the off season came into the year and just wasn't able to find the same results. So he's been very open and active in trying to find the right recipe in the weight room and training room and in the cage to be the best version of himself. So he's just going to continue to work on that, but I'm not sure if there's one thing that we can put our finger on that's slowed him down.
And for those like me that would have still preferred to not watch Romo here and be on the 26-man roster, here's what Will had to say about sticking with Romo.
Drew has been great. Obviously the homers there early were awesome, but the stability that Drew gives us behind the plate, I think is really his defining characteristic and his skill set, where he's putting down the right fingers or pressing the right buttons and helping our pitchers navigate these game plans, and also playing good defense, throwing well, and the pitch framing, the defensive.
Good defense, right. I mean, every time I see the need for Romo to block a ball in the dirt late in the game, I see the ball bouncing everywhere. Although I think I need to be fair, because it could be on the relievers. I mean, Domínguez spiked a ball so bad in the ninth that Kyle Teal had no chance. And that ball was just, I'm surprised it didn't bounce actually over the net. That's how much he bounced it. I know I'm being, exaggeration here. But at least Teal is back. And despite being 0 for 4 last night, having his potential to be the team's best all-around bat should boost the lineup. And Venable talked about the different lineup combinations he now has at his disposal and how he's going to figure it out.
Change. We're trying to find what it really needs to look like, and I think that we might see a couple different versions as we get settled into a new group of guys, really with Kyle in there, and just see how they complement each other. But certainly to have him in there, another bat that is dangerous, and with that group is special. We'd love for him to catch 7 days a week, but I think one, obviously at the catching position, you're not going to catch every day. I think also in Kyle's situation, where as much as we want him in there, it was 5 games or maybe 4 games in 5 days in this rehab stint. Last rehab stint was cut short. His spring training was cut short. So he really doesn't have that volume of playing and at bats, and kind of his legs in the type of shape in which you want to go out and throw out there every single day. So we'll be mindful of that, and at the same time, he's here and healthy and ready to go. So we'll see what it looks like.
Well, let's get into the mailbag, where one everydayer asks if Shane Smith is still a viable core piece. Coming up next. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. I mean, Chicago's front office is always talking about being aligned, being collaborative, and they've established this collaborative effort. And guess what? Chicago has gone from being the worst team ever 2 years ago to being tied for first place in the American League Central right now. Chicago is starting to become a great organization again with a collaborative approach to make moves. Great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. Again, that's odoo.com/lockedon. 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 Welcome back to Locked On White Sox, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the #1 sports podcast network. Shout out to all the everydayers. I appreciate your loyalty. Get your daily White Sox coverage completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now. You get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes or go to lockedonwhitesox.supercast.com. That's lockedonwhitesox.supercast.com to claim your free trial. And Shane Smith was not part of the 5 pitchers to basically monitor to see if the team's pitching development is not falling behind that I listed on yesterday's show. And the main reason I didn't put him among those 5 is we still don't have a definitive timeline for his return to the AAA mound. I mean, Hagen Smith and Tanner McDougal, we have an idea. Smith, it's a month. McDougal, planning on getting back within probably a week or so. There's been more updates. The last update in the Sun Times was Smith was hoping to start throwing some bullpen soon. And Smith also gave an update on the Knight's Twitter account in an interview with the team's version of Brooke Fletcher, Kendall Smith, and all he said was he was hoping to get back in the game soon. So once we get a more definitive timeline of his return, then all he needs to do is prove, can he command his fastball? Because that is why he was demoted in the first place. Repeat his delivery better and work on fastball command. That's a small tinkering from a bonus guy. So remember, Shane Smith has always been a bonus guy. He was a Rule 5 pick that went absolutely wonderful last year. But he's not a referendum candidate when it comes to pitchers who the team either drafted or absorbed a huge portion, well, not a huge, but a good amount of Jordan Hicks's exorbitant salary just to get. So that's why he was not in the 5. And I give that background because I got a great question from Hunter that I want to kick off this week's mailbag with. This is what Hunter emails, lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. And again, if you want to talk baseball, email me, lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. You can also sign up to the Everydayer Club. Part of it is you can be part of our Discord chat. So there's plenty of ways for us to talk, but I would love to talk baseball with you. But this is what Hunter emails. Hello, I saw the podcast today. Appreciate that. And I heard the 5 pitchers you said we would be watching, but I didn't hear you talk about Shane Smith. I know he's on IL, but he is still a former All-Star. Do you see him more as a trade bait, or what's your opinion? So obviously a little bit of context in front end there, Hunter. But for him to be trade bait, first he needs to get back on the mound. And that is obviously the first step in the process. He's got to be able to pitch in games. And if it's, it's kind of like, if you're asking like trade bait, I would almost look at it as, is he like kind of in the same case as like Andrew Vaughn? Are you going to trade him to get immediate help while deciding basically we don't want to fix him? Because that's what they did with Vaughn. I would actually say in this case, though, don't trade Shane because he still has stud stuff, just lost his command. The coaching staff didn't want to deal with fixing him because he couldn't be trusted to not burn up the bullpen in April. Timing was why he was sent down to the minors. I mean, if he was healthy right now and just now started to get out of whack, he would have been spotted a ton of openers. And remember, at the time when he was demoted, that was where I was frustrated. Was they didn't even give him an opportunity. But I get why, because when you could barely eat up innings in April, you got to go off to Charlotte because he was going to absolutely burn up arms. And I have seen bullpen arms, when I used to cover Ned Yost, get absolutely destroyed by May because he would just keep going. And that's the other thing. For those that are just going off on Will Venable's bullpen management, you got to first understand he doesn't have the horses to execute a strategy. I talked about it on yesterday's show, and you just saw it. Now, could he buck against the front office? Because, again, a lot of these decisions, this isn't like, back in the day, back in the 70s, Billy Martin with the Yankees doing whatever he wanted. This isn't even back in, Moneyball where the lineup cards come on. No, it's a collaborative effort. Now, I always believe the manager should serve as the control to the risk of the computer spitting out a bad lineup card. Or again, you should sometimes be like, right now, Seranthony Dominguez, really? We got to go with Seranthony? He's basically Tony right now. He's not a knight. Don't go with them. But a lot of this is now a collaborative front office effort. So I go back to the time I covered Ned Yost when he did have some talented bullpen arms. He would absolutely just burn them out. I think it was Ricky Porcello who was, there was a reliever, a veteran reliever who was on his upswing. And I remember Yost absolutely just basically pitched him out of the game. Like his arm just basically was destroyed with how much he used them. And it started out okay, but then towards the end, overusage. So that's kind of where you should maybe look at Will Venable and even the front office. But anyways, getting back to it, when you can barely eat up innings in April, yeah, you can't really risk burning up your bullpen that quickly. But if he can correct himself when he does return to AAA Charlotte and starts pitching, I would say you might want to give him another shot rather than trade him. However, if trading him is what it takes, including him in a package, in a hypothetical situation, say getting Reed Detmers or even Joe Ryan, you got to entertain it. Now, Detmers isn't going to be traded because the Angels never tear things down. It was more of an example of, setting when the team should trade him if they want to see, if the other team wants to see, can he bounce back? Can he get to his all-star form? It should be part of a higher level of pitcher that you should be getting. It should not be for an Aaron Savale. If that is the level of player that you're going to be acquiring for Shane Smith as part of a package, you might as well just keep the club control and see if he can find his 2025 version of himself. But if you can get a legit upgrade with club control and he needs to be part of the package, because he wouldn't be the centerpiece, of course, you should entertain it. Then Doug, he writes this on the YouTube channel. He wrote this while the game's going on. The game is in the 9th inning right now. I just wanted to comment on the bullpen. Once again, the bullpen blows this game. Taylor and Dominguez both stink. They need to send Taylor down, bring up Peoples, and DFA Dominguez. Just eat this clown's contract and send him right down the road. Enough is enough. All right, so if they haven't brought up Peoples yet, they're not going to bring him up to replace Taylor. They're not going to demote Taylor. I mean, he still has the most talented stuff. And prior to the past 2 games, he's been really effective. Although he did give up a home run to the Dodgers. But still, he's been effective. And if he can get ahead of the count, it's hard to hit him. Plus, I'm just going to say this. My suggested standard for guys performing at AAA, or just my suggestion for demanding guys to be promoted from AAA, if they haven't been called up to fill that need, the organization might know something more about the player and why they won't succeed at the big league level than we do. I mean, they were right on Tim Elko. Jacob Gonzalez, he's probably still at AAA if Munetaka Murakami doesn't get hurt, because you're starting to see at the big league level, he may have been Charlotte-aided. Now, pitching-wise, if a guy has a low ERA, I mean, you've got to be impressed because they're pitching at basically the Coors Field of the South. But maybe the front office is seeing something in the stuff that screams, this guy isn't the solution. He's depth only. Call up in case of a rash of injuries. And eating Dominguez's contract is something you don't have to entertain right now unless he can't get outs in middle relief. I think you got to try him in middle relief where he's had success in his career, where he's got success right now based on the numbers. But if that goes south, then yeah, dump him. But right now, just take him out of the closer role. Well, that wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. I'll be back tomorrow with the Way Back Wednesday segment. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox, wherever you get your audio podcasts, as this show is available on places such as Apple or Spotify. You can email me with questions or comments to lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can follow me at Tajay Dub. Also, the show's a TikTok page at Locked On White Sox. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On White Sox ad-free plus members-only Discord access and so much more. Head to LockedOnWhiteSox.supercast.com to join the club. And if you've already signed up, spread the word. Tell your friends to join. I'd appreciate it. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel on audio. For your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later.